welcome back for a brand new round of box office predictions. As always, we kick this video off with the Fantasy Movie League recap, and this week, it's a special week because we actually wrapped up a season that really snuck up on me before I knew it. So this weekend, not only do we have our weekly winners, but we also have the fall season winner. First off, though, those who got that perfect lineup last weekend were D-Duck for life, Fletch One's Blah Cineplex, Saber's Cineplex, Katniss's Cineplex, Secret Service, and Devil. Dewey has joined me to announce the big winner for the fall season. This individual crushed it all season long, came out on top, and that is No Plex Zone. Huge congratulations to you. You are officially the third season-long winner in the Predictions with Perri League. We had the spring season winner, summer season winner, and now you are number 3. So congratulations. I can't wait to send you some really cool prizes. While this guy gets comfy, I'm going to roll into my top 5 from last weekend. I did okay. It was a little bit of a mixed bag. Got some numbers right, some not so much. Of course, we had Ralph Breaks the Internet topping the charts, but it did lose more than I expected. It dropped 54.5% and made another $25.6 million. Then it was The Grinch, which wound up right about where I thought it would be, closing out its 4th weekend in theaters with about $17.9 million. Creed 2, on the other hand, took a bigger hit than what I predicted. It lost 53.2% of its opening profits and made another $16.6 million this weekend. As expected, Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald did see another big percent change this weekend, dropping 61.3% for another $11.4 million. And then finally, Bohemian Rhapsody did close out the top 5 with another $8 million. Now that that's taken care of, but he's still not comfortable, I have to welcome you to yet another weekend at the box office with no big newcomers. So that means we're probably playing with the same 5 movies again, and sure enough, I'm going with Bohemian Rhapsody for my number 5 pick. This time around with this one, I'm looking at the movie The Murder on the Orient Express. Right around this same time last year, that movie was also going into its 5th weekend in theaters. Looking at its percent changes, though, weekend 4, it dropped 48.6%. Then in weekend 5, that number came way down to 23.7%, and I would be surprised if Bohemian Rhapsody couldn't hold on just as strong, so I'm going with a 25% dip for Bohemian Rhapsody, and that would still give it another $6 million. Now moving over to my number 4 pick, that is where I have Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. This time around, I'm going to look at Justice League to help me out with this one. I know Justice League had a lot more money in the bank than what Crimes of Grindelwald has, but they both hit theaters right about the same time. They're part of franchises. They have the studio spectacle vibe. Looking at Justice League for weekend 3, that's when it dipped 60%. But then in weekend 4, that number came down to 42%. So if I look at Fantastic Beasts and bring its percent change from last weekend down a similar amount, we could be talking about a 45% hit for the movie, and that would leave it with another $6.3 million. Moving over to number 3 now, I learned my lesson. I've got Creed 2 taking this spot. Looking back at the first Creed movie, in its 2nd weekend in theaters, it wound up dropping 49.4%. For Creed 2, however, that number came up a little bit and it wound up losing 53.2% of its opening weekend profits. But when I look at weekend 3 for the first Creed movie, that percent change, as is happening with many of these movies that we're talking about today, it came down, and it came down all the way to 32.5%. I do not think that Creed 2 is going to be as lucky to see a dip as low as that, but I do think last weekend's percent change is coming down, and the number that I'm looking at for this one is 40%, and if it does lose 40% of last weekend's profits, we're talking about Creed 2 posting another $10 million this weekend. It did cross my mind that it would be kind of crazy if these last 2 movies wound up switching spots, but I do think Ralph is safe for now, so my number 2 pick this weekend is The Grinch. That The Lorax comparison served me very well last weekend, so I'm going right back to it. In weekend 5, that movie wound up dropping 40.9%. And the thing is, I don't see the Grinch dropping any more than that. In fact, I am inclined to bring that percent change down because, hey, I've got to play the holiday card with this movie again. So let's say I bring it down to something like 35%. That means the Grinch is making another $11.7 million this weekend. And finally, that brings us to our #1 movie for the 3rd weekend in a row. It's Ralph Breaks the Internet. Ralph did wind up taking a bigger hit than both Moana and Coco, but when I look at what happened to those two movies in weekend 3, yet again, we're talking about percent changes that came way, way down. And I do think that Ralph Breaks the Internet is going to continue that trend. So if I bring that movie's 54.5% drop from weekend 2, bring that number all the way down to 40% for weekend 3, we're talking about Ralph Breaks the Internet making another $15.5 million. It is time to roll into that recap now. I've got Ralph Breaks the Internet topping the charts with $15.5 million. The Grinch coming in at #2 with $11.7 million. Then it's Creed 2 at #3 with $10 million. Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald taking the 4th spot with $6.3 million. And then finally, Bohemian Rhapsody closing out my top 5 with $6 million. There it is, guys. It's your turn now. Hit that comment section below. Share your rankings and your numbers right there. Head on over to Fantasy Movie League. We are kicking off award season over there, and you do not want to miss weekend 1. So go over there, set your lineups. We'll see how we all did next weekend. Before I leave you guys, though, we've got 2 very special Patreon shout-outs to give because these go to 2 PNemi Patreon newcomers that I am so happy have joined the team. Those 2 individuals are Jimmy Rodriguez and Grady Huckabee. Jimmy and Grady, thank you guys so much for joining the PNemi Patreon team. I am so happy to have you, and I hope you enjoy the Patreon experience. I hope everyone out there is enjoying these videos. Don't forget to like and share them, and I'll see you next weekend for more box office predictions.